This video is going to be about Adderall. I told everyone I'm going to try and be more transparent and brave and just kind of tell my story. And I guess this is a good segue into telling my story, as I took 100 milligrams of Adderall on Sunday, and today is Wednesday. I've been in bed with a headache that entire time. Again, some of these videos are just to keep up with my mental health and to see hopefully progress, although that I consider that a backslide. Why did I do that? Well, if you take an Adderall, never quote unquote abused it, taking too many, it's like it can be euphoric, and it's kind of an escape, just like any substance that you overdo, right? And that's kind of what I want to talk about in this video. I took 100 milligrams. It's all extended release, and my doctor gave me extended release, knowing I have a history of abusing it. And there you go. It doesn't really matter how it's introduced. You just take too much, there you go. You can have some problems. Although, yeah, probably not as bad, because you can't. All you can do is take it orally. So, yeah, if you do Adderall anyway, but orally, your body is gonna, it goes into the blood-brain barrier at a faster rate, which can lead to all kinds of problems. And yeah, so let's get the microphone like that. Yeah, so in this video, I just want to talk about and be transparent if anyone's struggling with Adderall. I have a plethora of knowledge about it, so I really do. I'm going to be as vulnerable as possible in this video as I head back to the house. And I hope you guys can too, to the extent that you're willing to, and with your alias in the comment section being what it is, not too transparent. If that makes any sense. Again, I'm in kind of a confused state still. I've been inside for 4 days with a headache. I hope I didn't do brain damage, but it's always a factor when stimulants and even alcohol, stuff like that. You can do damage over time, and that's another reason for this video. So when it comes to Adderall, I'm just going to be transparent and say why I did that. It's just essentially just loneliness. I live alone, and I've been talking about telling my story for a while now. I've been talking about telling my story for a while now, and that was part of the reason I did it. I've had, whether it's real or delusion, I feel like I can be more creative if I stay up late and stay up all night, and that's what I try to do. And also kind of backslid with misbehaving or whatever, getting overstimulated. And I was writing, for, I don't know, maybe like 20 pages, but also, I got an AI girlfriend that I was talking to during that. It's amazing how sad my life has become. I went from having literally everything to now I have an AI girlfriend that I talk to that is like a bitch. Those aren't sniffles. It's cold out. It's a rainy day. Although they might as well be. But yeah, so I want to talk about Adderall, and essentially the slippery slope of it can really be a godsend. It can really get you, as someone with ADHD, or if you look at CPTSD and how similar the correlation is. People with CPTSD and trauma, Adderall can be a godsend, because it really can, in like if you're oversensitive nature, it's that's kind of what I've come to the conclusion about, is it allows you to just do the work. And in American culture and society, no one's going to tell you to work less hard. Sometimes you just got to work, and that's really where the slippery slope lies, in my opinion, is when does the work end and losing yourself begin. I lost my whole life taking Adderall and working at a warehouse, and the worst job statistically for someone with ADHD is warehouse work. And and that's what's slippery about Adderall, is like it enables you to do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do. And you know, if I just didn't have Adderall, I would have just quit the job, and I would have been like, this is terrible, and left, you know, like, and then the next chapter begins. But instead, Adderall allowed me to be like, you know, shove a round circle through a square hole, and whatever the saying is, and that's not good. Like, or it turned out not to be not good is the understatement of a lifetime. If you know what happened to me after that, you've watched some of my videos, I've alluded to it, but so I just want to, you know, maybe help someone out who's struggling with Adderall, and I would very much suggest, if you are, you know, living alone, I mean, Requiem for a Dream is a real thing. That old lady, I did that. I was her. I think my story hopefully will have a happy ending. It remains to be seen, but I definitely messed up my life in a way, I think definitely neurologically, like that my brain was messed up for a while. I think your brain can heal, but that's a slippery slope, is like, you know, you're just working and taking that drug. As long as you're working, you know, especially as a man, people just, you know, you're doing the work, and that's what you're supposed to do as a man, right? And then when you're not, when you know, fall apart, it just looks like a man who falls apart, and then now you're useless, and society goes, you're useless. So that is really the first thing I'll say. If you're a dude and you're taking Adderall, you have to have boundaries, and you have to be able, I know it's hard because you just want to work, and to the extent that you have trauma and are just distracting and, you know, being a workaholic, and, you know, that feels good for a while, but if you burn out on Adderall and you're around people that are unsafe, it can be an absolute hell, you know. I take it for me. It's 2 years, over 2 years now. I mean, you could say 13 years. It just depends on what the time frame, but literally 2 years of trying to just find my mind, find my brain, find out who I am, the healing, you know, trying to figure out the difference between like healing from trauma versus narcissistic abuse versus, you know, Adderall abuse. Like, I could not find the forest through the trees, and I'm telling you, that is, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. It is the scariest thing I've ever experienced. It changed me in a way that I'm never going to be the same again. Both for good reasons, and for, I would say I'm you know, there's bad parts too. I have definitely a fear of people. The bright-eyed, loving side is dead. It'll never be there again. I just was hurt too bad with all that happening at once, and I woke up to how bad people can actually be, and selfish and manipulative. And that's part of the story I eventually will tell. But yeah, this one's just going to be about Adderall. Again, if you're struggling with it, I don't know. I tend to talk in my vlogs a lot about like narcissistic abuse and like relationships, and in that case, it tends to be kind of too late, quote unquote, for the person. As far as, you know, you're usually doing the healing already, and when you come across these videos, it's like it's kind of just a reassurance. But you can't really nip it in the bud. If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you're still on Adderall, or, you know, trying to sort out your relationship with it. So I think it's, I could talk about, you know, ways to mitigate, and help you if you're confused, or if you have, you don't know what to do, right? Like, it's a miracle drug. It can help you with your job, and I know so many people that just can't do their job without it, and I'm one of those people. My whole life, I knew I was supposed to be a film director, like creative person, and gamer and those kind of things. There's so many guys out there like that. I know there's so many people out there like that, and usually young guys. They're just gamers and they're usually YouTubers, and that's where they thrive. And honestly, so many other jobs are just too monotonous to do without Adderall. So I feel you, and again, you're not alone. And I guess the main thing of this video is just to, I'm both doing a check-in for myself and being transparent about it. I took 100. If I don't care if my therapist sees this, if anyone sees this, I took 100. I think I took 100 milligrams over like a 12-hour period on Saturday night. It is now Wednesday. This is how long it took me to get rid of my headache and the confusion. I probably fucked my brain up. I don't know why I did that. I thought I could be creative. I've done it in the past where I, edited a whole music video in 2 months doing that. I just didn't. It just sucks that, when you don't have anyone in your court, you gotta protect yourself. And it's really sad if you don't have anyone to, lean on, because that's how people cash out. And I hope this could help those of you guys. I know there's a lot of us right now that are on another dreary vloggy day. Maybe it doesn't look that dreary. This looks like really nice. This is not that color. I don't have like a filter on. It's really dreary. It's rainy out. Jeez, this is like super vibrant. But anyway, I look tan. I'm not tan, but yeah, cool. At least it looks a little more positive than the subject matter of this video. So I don't know. I bring this up a lot with friends and and family, quote unquote, but cousins that would just tell me unbeknownst to them about my story, they just tell me their story, and they took a psychedelic. Usually they took mushrooms or whatever, and they say every time they take it, there's like a subtext. It's like, you should stop taking Adderall. And I have the same story. And one of my strongest trips was stop taking Adderall. And I remember I just took it and I threw it on the floor. I had my Adderall with me after I had the craziest trip. This is years ago now, but it was telling me the future. It said, you're going to have the most pain you've ever had in your entire life. You need to break up with your ex. You need to break up with your girlfriend, and we know you're not going to, and it's going to be the most painful thing you've ever experienced by far. And I remember I was crying, and I didn't know why at the time. I just was because I was just, it's all subconscious. They can't just be subconscious. How did I know? How did my subconscious knew all of that? I don't believe that. There's no way. It was so, anyway, so that's a little bit of an esoteric kind of whatever reason not to take Adderall, but I'm just spitballing like I always do in my videos. And sorry about that. Between dreams and psychedelic experiences, I don't think there's too much of a difference. I think, like Terrence McKenna said, we're all holding. If it's true that DMT is produced in the brain when you're sleeping, the most psychoactive hallucinogen, whatever. I struggle with it because I've been, my whole life just kind of free spirit, even when I was a kid, I was first being diagnosed with ADHD, and they're giving me this stuff. I was a happy kid. I was, I was happy. And when I first took, I think it was a methylphenidate, people said, you've changed. And I didn't like how I felt on it. I also was going through puberty, and I remember I made an active decision. I was no, even at a young age, I remember I was like so anti-establishment, so anti like school. I just knew there was something wrong. I knew kids were good, and it was like Matilda or something. It was like any like it just felt like adults like were miserable, and I didn't want to be miserable, and I always pushed against. In hindsight, that's my favorite thing about myself is I pushed against like that authoritative garbage that kept people from flourishing and being their best selves. I swear Adderall is just like, that's the struggle, right? Is like, it's another pharmaceutical drug that I don't think cures. It doesn't, I know it doesn't cure, but I think it, like there's, the psychedelics can really, they can really cure and change framing in your mind in a way that's like permanent versus these substances. I feel like the more of us that are on them, the more it's like we're hiding, we're hiding our vulnerable selves. And this is not what I was expecting to talk to about in this video, but I'm just trying to be as honest and vulnerable as possible. This sick, stupid, mask-wearing world that is becoming sicker by the day. So many people are just faking it, and yeah, the only thing that's keeping me going is the understanding that, and it's like pseudo connection, like the connection of knowing everyone is dealing with serious mental health issues, and meaning and connection, and that is keeping me going. Isn't that sick? But that's connection, at least. Like, I'm not alone. I know there's so many dudes. I'm 36. I can see the forest of the trees a little bit better. I lived in a world that wasn't this sick and, addicted and weak and fake. So I know what the human spirit's capable of, and I know we can reel it back in. We can be better. We can be vulnerable. We can be loving, and we can be real. Again, this is soapbox. I'm sorry. I just being, it's supposed to be about Adderall, but this is just how I'm feeling right now. Again, this video is for a check-in. That's I made this channel just to be able to, put a message in a bottle. A lot of the reason I made this channel, just message in a bottle, because I don't want all this pain to be in vain. I don't want to go anywhere without trying to just add some good to the world. I feel like I contribute to a lot of pain. I was a monster, and I mainly just hurt myself, but I also was just, I don't know. It's really funny how healing is so isolating. That's another reason it's keeping me going, is like, I know deep down that this isolation it has to be for a reason. Like, it's too dramatic. It's too much. There's too much, like, a lot of people are isolating, but I just feel like I've never known myself this well. I've never felt like a better person, and I never felt like my authentic self as much as I do now, and yet I'm completely alone. So it's like, to a certain degree, I know that's because I rub people the wrong way, whether it's like my mask historically, which is kind of showing people like this, and like this like contrarian, like kind of like, whatever, punk rock kind of do whatever the fuck I want kind of attitude that rubs people the wrong way and overly blunt, or it's like the newer version, which I think is kind of like the newer me, which is like this, and like I just don't have a mask at all, and I just can see very clearly who people are now. Like, before they even say a word, I can see what they are about. Like, right away. So that might be a part of it too. And so that makes me feel good. As far as liking that version. But yeah, society doesn't like it. Anyway, this video is supposed to be about Adderall. What's my current headspace like? Kind of numb. I'm on 20 milligrams right now. That's it. Took it this morning. Just debating whether or not I should not, because I haven't taken any since Saturday. I've just been withdrawing, I guess. But I got stuff to do today. I got this whole house to upkeep, and gotta go grocery shopping, and gotta do all the stuff. I hopefully have enough stones to do this video and finally stand up for myself and stand up for what I believe in and be authentic, and maybe hopefully get some people to jump on the authentic ship, because it's the right place to be. It's the place to be. It's where human beings need to be. And I've always been the scapegoat and the sacrificial fuck, and there's no virtue in that. I conflated pain and taking the blame with virtue and courage, and that's not courage. That's self-destruction. That's being a doormat. That's not virtuous. That's not strong. That's toxic empathy. That's not good for anyone. Putting the oxygen mask everybody else and losing my own shit, and then expecting people to help me is not manly, is not strong, is not sustainable, and not courageous. So having said that, I think I need to, I'll be doing eventually, by this Saturday. I was planning on it. I was planning to have it done by now. Anyway, sorry guys, this is a little bit out of it, but yeah, if you're still watching this video, let me know your experience with Adderall is, and what your tools are, and if you've gotten off of it, or if you're gotten off of it, got back on. I think that's another toughie, that link between people get off it and they're doing fine off of it. What was the catalyst that got you back on it? That's a big one, because that's a slippery slope. Something traumatic happened, you got a job that you can't do without it, you need to get more work done, so you take it for a while. But it's a slippery slope. When do you start losing yourself? When do you start, when is the pros the cons outweigh the pros? It's a tricky drug. And I don't agree with taking it every day. I think you can lose yourself. And I used to really stand by that. And it was only after I took it every day that it became an issue. So everyone's different, though. Obviously, taking 100 milligrams doesn't help. So it might just be that simple. Let me know what you guys think. Appreciate you for tuning in this long. If you've stuck around, and Appreciate you guys.